As the nice lady said, our recording has started. If you need to converse with us, use the chat feature. Or if you want to open up your line, we can open that up for you. But typically, we kind of wait for questions at the end. If you hit a topic or we come across a topic that you need to ask a question for, type it in the chat, raise your hands, whatever you want to do, just so we can get you guys taken care of and it can be fresh in your mind as well. But with that said, welcome to our 2024 Interscholastic Unified Track and Field. This is our pre-competition webinar for coaches, and it's wild that we are already in May and it is already track and field states. It has gone very, very fast this year, and I'm sure the rest of the school year will go only even faster. So this is kind of the agenda today. Introductions, we'll talk about the divisions and some of the scheduling type of stuff. Remind you about the event guide and some rules reminders, and then kind of close things out with some points of emphasis and then questions that you may have. Here's a reminder of who's going on Wednesday, May 15th. This has gone out. I apologize because there was some minor confusion with this list when it first went out. I was typing it half brain working because I was also finishing our outdoor bocce state championships that happened this past week on Sunday. And I clerically had some errors of not getting people into the right buckets, or I just forgot to type their name, or Urbana got written down twice and they had a chance to go both days. Here's the real list. We got it straightened out in the first 2 days of this week. But again, this is the set of teams that will be going on Wednesday, May 15th. And then here's our Thursday crew. One thing that you will notice is the amount of teams going on Wednesday is much greater than the amount of teams going on Thursday. We've worked with schools. We had to do a little finagling of the day-to-day schedule. Typically, again, any teams that are 20 or less go on Wednesday. Any teams that are 21 or more go Thursday. We've been trending in a direction for track and field the past couple years, and it really came to fruition this year that we don't have as many 21 plus teams, but we have more schools participating than ever in track and field. So our numbers are about the same. Our team sizes aren't the same. So we did have to finagle some teams and schools from the Wednesday in the smaller division to Thursday. And we'll have some smaller divisions running on Thursday as well. So thank you to the district reps for working with me to even out the days. Otherwise, we would have had a 400 plus person Wednesday and like a 100-person Thursday, and that would have been extremely painful for you and your students. So just a reminder, there are some teams that we did have to pair up to get to our smallest roster sizes allowed. We worked with district reps to determine that. That was not something that was self-determined by Special Olympics. We worked with your district reps to get those together. If we need to activate our Friday rain date, we actually have to change venues. So if for some reason you are one of the 2 days that we are offered and we say, hey, this day now has to go Friday, we will be going to Northwestern High School. I'm not going to go into the details of the pivot information if we need to go to Friday, May 17th. I'm going to create a miniature slideshow that'll come out with these slides that says, hey, if we need to go Friday the 17th, here's where you park your bus on the Friday. Here's how you come into the venue. This is the venue layout for Friday the 17th. You'll get a mini packet on that. I just don't want to eat up your time tonight going into details on an event plan that hopefully we won't even need, quite honestly. You can see, though, it's about 25 minutes northwestish of the Prince George's Sports and Learning Complex. So just plan accordingly if you are traveling on that Friday and you do have to go to Northwestern. If you're coming from the south, it might be a little further up. You might have to scoot around 495 a little bit longer. For our friends to the north, it's probably a little bit closer. So team divisions, we are still working on our team divisions. We're refining them to get them to the best spot that we can. We've also had a lot of notes on updates to rosters of people that need tweaks to their events, or, we missed a student athlete getting into registration, so on and so forth. We're getting all of that stuff updated today and tomorrow. And tomorrow I'm going to start finalizing the team events and the divisions and the heat sheets and all that kind of stuff. We also had to delay our IUS outdoor bocce state tournament a day, so it shifted our schedule essentially one day down the line for everything that we're working on at this point. So be patient with us, but please have an eye on your school email because most of you have given us your school email as coaches. Have an eye on it around Saturday. I'm shooting for noonish on Saturday, might be early afternoon on Saturday to get you the details of the final team divisions and the schedules and all that kind of stuff. So these two slides essentially just say they'll be announced. Plus, you'll get the schedule for the rotation. You'll get everything you need by Saturday at the latest. Additionally, going back to the divisions and the schedules and all that stuff, you'll get physical copies in your coaches packets when you arrive on site. So we just try to send you a digital copy ahead of time in case you want to print it, make notes. As a kayaking coach for our community program in Baltimore City in the summer, I print all that stuff. I make my own notes. I highlight where my students are in the lineups and what divisions they're in. So we get that you guys may want to play with that a little bit. Wanted to also do a reminder on team scoring and how we do it at states. Because we have a mass amount of teams compared to your districts that I think Frederick is probably the only district that has enough high school teams that does multiple divisions. Every team will get placed into a team division with similar school sizes. So if your school is 18 students on your roster, you're going to be competing against teams that have 18, 19, 20, 21, or maybe, 18, 17, 16, 15. We try to keep them as close as they can because what that means is you have similar scoring opportunities. Again, every participant can be in a track event, a field event, and each team can have 2 4x1s or 2 4x2 relays. So if you have 18 students and one of the opposing team has 20, they have 2 more students. They have a couple more events that their students are going to be in. We do a weighted score. So essentially, whatever the biggest team number is in the division, if it's 20, they're the constant for our weighted score. If a team is 18, divide 20 by 18, whatever the outcome is their weighted score. It's 1.2 or something like that. So then every time that team of 18 scores a point, they actually earn 1.2 points because it's a weighted score compared to the biggest team in their division. Then you have to look at essentially when you finish each heat. So every race that's run on the track, every division that's run in the field, somebody places first, second, and third, and they get points in first, second, or third place. Anybody after third place in a division doesn't earn points for their team. If they come in first place, they get 5 points. If they come in second place, they get 3 points. If they come in third place, they get 1. And then every place after that, they do not earn points for their team. There's a little bit of an example. I was never good at the word problems for math. So I'm probably even less good at explaining how this works. I hope I explained it well. I'm going to pause here. Does anybody have a question about team divisions, team scoring, the weighted score for team scoring, or how you earn points for finishing in a heat or a field division for at a field event? Okay, cool. Again, it's confusing. Most of you have been exposed to this at some point. The way I like to say it that people tend to understand a little bit better for the weighted score is if you've ever bowled, there's point for point bowling and then there's handicap bowling. This is kind of like handicap bowling, but we've done this for team scoring for as long as Unified Sports has been around. Last call for team scoring questions, though, unless you have them at the end. Nope. Okay, fantastic. Our event guide will also come out by Saturday. The event guide, this is a picture of last year's event guide. Essentially, it'll be an extension of this webinar. It'll cover a lot of the same stuff. It'll just cover some additional details. And we highly recommend that when we send that out, scan through that, take a look. You'll see a lot of the same information, but always good to look through. Additionally, you will get a physical copy of this in your packet as well. Speaking of packets, one thing that we don't put in the packets, I print a couple copies for myself, but it might be good for you as a recommendation. I recommended this for our bocce coaches too. If you don't already have a physical copy printed of the rule book that goes out in the beginning of the school year, might be good to print that just to have on hand as well. We'll have a couple copies on hand if you need to reference something, but we do not put them into the packets. This is our setup for track and field. If you have been to track and field states before in years past, it's the same thing. We have not changed anything. So if you've been there, it's the same layout. If you're new, we're going to cover the layout now just so you know what you're looking for. We'll start with the track and track staging. Track staging happens where this A is. There'll be a 10 by 20 pop-up tent and somebody from our staff that will check in your student athletes. Essentially, when we call for X division to report to track staging, essentially we run the order of events just like you have at your districts. We will run the 100, then the 200, then the 400, then the 800 on the track. So we run it the same way you guys did at your districts. With that said, we have 300 student athletes on site on a given day. So when we call for X division to report, don't have all your student athletes report to A. We're going to start with the 100-meter. Have your 100-meter students report. Just know that they're going to take them in the order of the divisions from Division 1 to Division 25, whatever it may be. And so they may say, oh, you're checking in your Division 22. If you guys could step back, we'll let you know when we're ready for you. And that's where you check in at staging. When your students check in, they will walk around to this blue box. There will be another big tent there. And our staging crew will get them seated all in their heats. So we can call each heat up, run one heat. Once they're done, get the results in, run heat 2, done, results, so on and so forth, and keep that process going. When they are done running on the track, they will exit down here by this big letter F. There's an exit area by this gate. We will put a sign there that says competition exit. And you'll be able to exit down by letter F. That is essentially the whole track staging situation. For field staging takes place in this letter C. This orange letter C is a big 30 by 60 tent. We will have signs and we will have areas for the mini jab where we're staging. We will have it for shot put where we're staging. And we will have it for long jump where we're staging over there. A reminder for coaches, anybody in softball throw will also be staged with the mini jab folks because the softball throw will throw out of vectors 1 and 2 here, just like mini jab. If you have students that are coming across to get into field staging, please remind your student athletes that there could be a track event going on. If it's the 100-meter events, it's not going to have an impact. Once we start running 200 and 400 and 800 and start getting higher races where we have to do full laps, they got to watch out for other student athletes on the track. So make sure that they're aware of that. Additionally, every team will have credentials for coaches and a pass to get onto the field. We try to limit the amount of people on the field. If we don't need to have coaches out there, if we don't need to have extra folks out there, we're going to try to avoid it. The less crowded the field, the better. One thing we definitely do not do for our state track and field tournament is we do not have student athletes or coaches or anybody just hanging out on the infield. If your student athletes are waiting for a race, if they're waiting to be called to their field event, please keep them in the bleachers or over at merchandise or on the grass to the side of the bleachers. Again, we do not want anybody hanging out in the middle of the infield. Again, our areas for our field events are going to be the letter B, and the 2 vectors there are for mini jab and softball throw. The letter D is where the 2 shot put pits are, shot put pit 1 and 2. And then when you come back across the track to letter E, you will see that that is where our long jump pit is. For the most part, the official who runs the long jump pit will meet everybody in staging, and they will walk your student athletes across the track at an appropriate time to go to long jump. So we won't have any issues with them crossing into races. Next thing that I want to point out, the letter F here is where our control center will be. Our control center is where you can check in for any questions. It's where you'll check in the morning to report any scratches or changes to your roster that you have for kids that are sick, didn't show up, whatever may happen. F is kind of the main central point that if you have a question, that's where you go. Last couple notes. H is where we will have merchandise. We will have merchandise that you can buy, cash, credit card. I think they take Venmo and stuff too. So I know a lot of the student athletes look forward to that. we have to flip-flop that from where it is an I, because with the rain coming, I don't want it to get too muddy, and I don't want our merchandise people stuck in the mud, and we don't want our students getting muddy picking up merchandise as well. And then you'll see the letter G. G is not where we typically drop off, but it is where a lot of your buses will pick up, and I'll show you why later. This little field house up here that you see is actually a ticketing booth, and you'll see that our folks that do transportation services will be out there in yellow vests, and that's where they'll greet you to be dropped off for the day. It's right where this ticket booth is. There's a big gate. You just walk through the big gate right onto the trail that walks around the track here, and you come around to the stands. But that's the layout for the venue. Any questions about the venue layout? If you have a question, again, you can type it in the chat. You can unmute, whatever works for you guys. We'll do our best to handle both of those as we need to. Okay, not seeing anything. Again, we'll take questions at the end, so if something pops up between now and then, we'll take it then. So this is just an example schedule. This is not the schedule, but we wanted to give you a reminder of what our example schedule looks like. Typically, on either day, we will have somewhere between 3 to 5 team divisions. Could be as high as 6 team divisions on Wednesday this year. And they will rotate through the track, the field, and resting in the stands. So essentially, time block 1, when we start the day, Division 1's on the track, Division 2 still in the stands, Division 3 is in the field. And then we rotate from there. The division that was on the track goes to the field. And then the division that was resting goes on the track. Then the team that did the field and track events already, they're resting. And you can see how we rotate through. The biggest thing that I want to remind you of is we do the relays at the end of the day, probably like you did at your district meet. And so we also try to tier off of our relays with, we'll pick one team division, typically our biggest one we'll start with, run all their 4x1s, then we'll run all their 4x2s, and then once we have those relay races done for that team division, we will have those teams report to award staging so that they come off the field from running their relays, they go to award staging, and then we start the next group of relays. We will do it division by division, so as we finish a team division's relays, we can get them their awards, so we don't have to make everyone wait till the end of the day. Relay teams. We're going to start with rules reminders on relay teams. For the most part, things look good. And I do know a bunch of you have sent me cleanup on your rosters. So I will be working through that tomorrow morning through the end of the day. Reminder for teams, relay teams, you can have 2 4x1s and 2 4x2s per team. So again, that is our maximum. We want to keep scoring opportunities even. If a team could happen to field 8 4x1 teams, that would be amazing. But not every team can field 8 4x1 teams, and it wouldn't be an equal opportunity, and scoring opportunities will become a mess. So again, every team can have 2 4x1s and 2 4x2s. Again, we need to have your updated information. If you have a relay team that you want to make sure we have the right names for, qualifying time, whatever it may be, send it in to me. Again, I have a ton in my inbox, and I'm sure there's a bunch already in there, but just wanted to remind you of that. When you check in, as we give you your packet and you report any scratches for the day or whatever it may be, if you can report and confirm that your relay runners are exactly who they were planned to be, coming into the event, that's great. If you need to activate an alternate for the competition, please do in the morning. If you have a kid that didn't show up to school that's on a relay team and you need to activate one of your alternates, please do that in the morning when you check in. It's a lot easier for us to communicate and get the end of the day prepped if we have that information in the beginning of the day. Again, if you have not let us know who your alternates are for your relay team, you got to let us know. We got to essentially assign who your alternates are to the relay team so that our team knows if we activate an alternate, they have their name. If you haven't done so, please send that to me by 9 p.m. tonight. A lot of you probably have already done that in my inbox. I just haven't seen a lot of those emails because we had our state bocce tournament yesterday. Reminder of composition. for your 4x1s and 4x2s. It can either be 2 athletes with disabilities and 2 unified partners without, or 3 athletes with disabilities and 1 unified partner without. We added that second option this year to create more opportunities for more teams to have 2 4x1s and 2 4x2 teams. But that, again, is the minimum standard for a relay team. 2 athletes, 2 partners, or 3 athletes and 1 partner. Again, if you have a combined school team, just let us know who essentially is running on a joint 4x1 or joint 4x2 team. I think a lot of the combined teams still have just enough to have their own relay team. So again, just a reminder, if you are a combined team, St. Charles and Westlake, if they happen to have a 4x1 that is all St. Charles kids and a 4x1 that's all Westlake kids, that's perfectly fine. Those 2 teams will run as St. Charles and as Westlake, and if they both place first, second, or third, they will pick up points for that combined team. But there are occasionally some combined teams that make a Boonesboro / Smithsburg 4x1 team of 2 participants from Boonesboro, 2 participants from Smithsburg. Again, as a combined team, you have some options. Maximum effort rule. This is the only place that we apply this Special Olympics rule. This is a rule from Special Olympics International that is in all of the rule sets for Special Olympics International, not necessarily directly in our Special Olympics Maryland Unified Sports rules, but for the maximum effort rule, essentially we apply it to relay teams, just relay teams. Meaning if any relay team outperforms their qualifying score or the score that they entered to be divisioned with by 20% or more, they're automatically disqualified. Don't be scared of this rule. Don't be worried of this rule. If you turned in your relay team and you turned in a good time for them, we very rarely see this happen. Typically, when we see this, we either got a bad relay time and they ran better than they were, or somebody added in an alternate and the alternate was significantly better than the person that they replaced. For the most part, it's just a safety valve to protect all the teams from a issue where a better alternate was placed in the team or a score was reported that wasn't a good score. I think we've maybe had to activate this rule once in the 4 or 5 years that I've been here at this point, so we do not usually see this often. One other note, if you get to your day for track and field and everybody's running and it gets to 12, 1 o'clock, and you have an athlete in a relay that just is sick or is just not having a good day, and you have an alternate you can activate, we won't guarantee that we can activate them, but please come see us. Let us know as soon as you can, and we'll do our best to activate that athlete so you have a relay team that you can run. We don't want you to not have a relay team. There's a certain point in the day where realistically we kind of got to draw that line to make sure we get everything prepped and ready to go so we're not falling behind, scrambling to get relay teams put together. But if you have an athlete that something happens during the day, they turn their ankle, again, they're struggling in the heat for that day, let us know. Reach out to us. Come to the control center. Tell us as soon as possible. Before I do softball throw, any questions on relay teams?
So I just wanted to make sure, no matter what district you're in, I'm a little confused about the time.
Sure.
Relays will still be done at the end.
Absolutely. So it'll make more sense when you know what your team division is, Coach. Essentially, you'll do the relays at the end, but we'll call a full team division. So if you're in team division 1 and we call team division 2 as the first relay group, they'll run their 4x1, then they'll run their 4x2. We'll take them off. We'll start trying to get them awarded. So then we'll call the next team division. Then we call division 1. That's your division, coach. Great. Bring your 4x1 teams down. We'll run the 4x1s, then we'll run the 4x2s. We'll get you guys off to go get your awards for the end of the day. Then division 3 will come on. 4x1, 4x2. Does that make more sense?
Yeah, it's our senior picnic that day, and some of
Sure.
my partners are gonna be at a senior picnic in the morning, and I was thinking maybe they could make it for the relay. If it's at
Sure.
home there.
Yeah, yeah, that's the other fun thing with track and field at the end of the year here. Every day is a minefield for proms and testing and
I
senior
know.
picnics, and so we're trying to do our best on days and accommodate and support people as much as we can, but we know it's a little bit of a minefield for you guys too. Any other questions on relays before we go into some of the field events? Nope, beautiful. All right. Reminders on softball throw. Like I said, softball throw happens at the same area that mini jav happens. The softball throw flights will be staged in the same area under that big 30 by 60 tent as mini jav as well. And a lot of the times, if a team division has a mix of mini javers and softballers, a lot of the times we'll go mini jav division, softball division, mini jav, softball, so we can give some people a little bit of a break. Also, just so you know, we tend to go in division order for the field events. So we'll try to go division one, two, three, four, five, six, seven for the field events. If for some reason we're still missing somebody for a field event and we have the next group ready to go, we may skip division three to go to division four for those heats, right? We want to keep field moving as much as we possibly can, because if we get behind on the field, that's where we really slow down. The field takes way longer than the track. So we will always try to optimize our field situation. Reminder, and I think most people remember this, and they have their team set up so that this shouldn't be an issue. If the softball throw has anybody that throws over 20 meters, it's a rule in the rule book that if they throw over the 20 meters, they're disqualified. With that said, everybody gets 3 throws. So if they have one throw over 20 and the rest are 19 and a half and 14 and a half, we'll take that highest 19 score. They just have that one throw disqualified. It isn't that if you throw over 20, you're disqualified from the whole thing. Again, you get 3 shots and 3 throws. Any throw over 20 meters is disqualified. Um, Also, just a reminder, softball can be thrown or tossed in any manner that you want. The main thing is that it just needs to stay within the vector that we have set up, essentially the boundary lines, and can't go over 20 meters. Any question on softball throw? Fantastic. Mini jab, same thing. Essentially, we will try to keep mini jab flowing as best we can. Mini jab is by far our most participated in event every year. If we don't keep that flowing, we will get stuck there. We'll get a little behind. So please work with us. Make sure your students get out to the field events, especially mini jab, in a timely manner. Then a reminder for mini jab. You can throw the mini jab, has to be overhand, and throws that will be counted, the little rubber tip on the mini jab has to touch first. If you throw the mini jab and it goes end over end over end and it touches rubber tip first, that's fine. It doesn't matter how it travels through the air. The rubber tip just has to touch first. Any throw where the rubber tip does not touch first will not be counted. And again, just like I said with softball throw, that throw isn't counted, but you got 2 more throws to go. So again, no need to get discouraged. Just need to try for the next ones to get the rubber tip to touch first. Questions on mini jab. I didn't have anything specifically that I wanted to cover in shot put or long jump. They are more of our straightforward field events. But if you do have a question in shot put or long jump, you can ask that now as well. Uniforms. Let's talk uniforms. Anybody that does not have a proper uniform and is not dressed in a way that is also safe to compete will not be allowed to compete. You should refer to the 2024 Interscholastic Unified Coaches Track and Field Guide, not the 4023. We are not that far into the future yet. We will correct that. But I appreciate you guys checking the rule book. This has been in there since day 1 of the season. We will talk about what appropriate attire is, but again, if they are not in appropriate attire, or you don't bring something that they can change into that is appropriate attire, we won't let them compete, especially if it's a safety attire situation, Like, if somebody shows up in Crocs and doesn't have sneakers to run in, we will not let them compete. That is a safety concern. Let's talk uniforms here. Essentially, the general uniform, when it comes to the lower half of the uniform, we are just looking for whatever your shorts that you've told your student athletes to wear. The only thing that we ask is you ask them to wear as close to one color as possible. If you say black, we're just looking for something black or gray, standard black or gray shorts. I don't care if one kid gets them from Old Navy, one kid gets them from Walmart, one kid gets them from, I don't know, Gucci shorts. I don't know if that's even a thing. Tyler might have to tell me if Gucci shorts are a real thing. Um, Biggest thing with the pants is just we want shorts or jogging pants, whatever your student athletes are comfortable. If they want to run in sweats, that's fine with us too. Just please have them get as close to the same color as possible when it comes to the bottoms. Absolutely no jeans, absolutely no khaki pants. We want them in comfortable athletics attire that it's safe for them to run in and so safe for them to compete in their field event in as well. For track and field, you have to wear sneakers. This is one of the ones that we are more specific about, along with flag football. You have to wear sneakers. And the sneakers have to be a regular tennis type of shoe sneaker. We're not going to get super picky. It could be sneakers, it could be basketball shoes, whatever it is that they feel good running in. It could be track shoes if they want to wear track shoes. No Crocs, no slip-ons, no Hey Dudes. I learned what those are this year too. I know I sound like an old man not knowing what's popular in shorts or footwear, but just no slides, none of that. If they want to wear those things on the bus until they get there, great. They have to bring a change of shoes though. When it comes to headgear, uh, we have no problem with hats on the field. If you're doing your field event, it's less of an issue. We tend to not love hats, but we get that you're in the sun. No hats for running, just because we then have concerns with somebody wearing a hat and their hat falling off and then somebody else stepping on it and slipping or something like that. So if you go to track staging and you have a hat on, they will tell you, please take the hat off. Um, if they have running sunglasses, that's fine with us. We don't mind those. It will be sunny, it will be bright. They can wear those. Same thing though. Please make sure they're secured on your athlete if they're running with sunglasses. Of course, if there's some sort of religious and or medical related headwear, that's absolutely fine. We have no problem with that. When it comes to headbands, wristbands, armbands, shooter sleeves for the basketball things, uh, um, what's the word I'm looking for? Spandex underneath a pair of shorts or something like that. All of that stuff is fine as well. Just tell them to pick one color, please. If you want them to wear all black, um, they can. Just tell them whatever the color is: black, white, gray, blue, whatever the team color is, or whatever your preferred color is. Um, that's fine. Coach Rob said, I said track shoes, track spikes. Yeah, they're fine at sprint at Sports and Learning Complex. They're absolutely fine. They can use them. They don't have an issue with them. I know not a lot of our participants probably have track spikes. They're very uncommon. I think a lot of standard varsity athletes probably don't even use track spikes. I have a brother that was a college track and field person. He never even used them. So I get if they're not using track spikes, that's perfectly fine. Last thing on this page, you'll see in the bottom the illegal aspect of these shorts are big crazy logos on the side. We don't want big wild logos or designs on the shorts. Again, if you tell them to get black shorts, tell them just get plain black shorts. The best thing they can do is go to Walmart or Target and spend $6 on a black pair of gym shorts. Keep it cheap, keep it simple. Again, this talks about visible undergarments. If you're gonna wear spandex or something, you have to wear shorts under them. But again, we just want it one color. Again, communicate to your student athletes, black, white, blue, whatever color you want it to be, just pick that one color. Again, leggings and stuff like this are illegal unless you're putting shorts over them. Everybody should be wearing a team coach preferred shorts, whatever the color may be. Again, don't care about what the style or brand is, or whatever the high school athletics department supplies to you guys for shorts. Going back before we finish on uniforms, I want to go back one more slide. Question that comes up throughout the years is jewelry. NFHS has flip-flopped back and forth year over year over year about jewelry. Essentially, the jewelry situation is as long as it's definitely secured on your person and won't cause an issue for harm to yourself or somebody else, they don't mind. So what that typically comes down to are stud or plug type earrings are typically fine. If somebody has a necklace or a chain that they want, it's fine. It just needs to be tucked in. And then essentially they say no rings or watches or any of that stuff. If any of your young ladies feel the need, like they should show up to track and field with hoop earrings, I highly encourage you to have that conversation that like hoops probably aren't a great choice for track and field. Let's be honest. Because if they show up to like hoops or with hoops or something at track staging, my folks will say, hey, we need you to take the hoops out just for your running event. Go ahead, put them back in, and then take them out for field event again. But hoops and extreme jewelry, we will not let you run in for the safety of your athletes or for other athletes. Last note is I haven't seen any issues with this, but everybody does need to wear their uniform top that is the school designated uniform top of choice. It needs to have either your school logo or your mascot or your team name on it, and the unified sports logo, which I have not seen any issues with for uniforms at any of the district tournaments. So again, great job with the uniform tops for sure. Any questions on uniforms?
Yes, for those of us that have combined teams,
Yes.
our schools are totally different colors. That's not a problem, correct?
No, so if you have a combined team, you just need to make sure that your team has your colors that you tell them to get. If your team is blue and white, coach, tell them whatever you want them to wear as far as it's in line with your blue and white and what you want. If the team you're combined with is red and pink, they can choose whatever as long as it's combined with them. You guys do not have to cross coordinate between schools on a single color. Again, just figure out directly what your school is wearing and stick to that color. Good question. Any other uniform questions? Fantastic. Bib numbers. We run bib numbers for all of your student athletes. You will get bib numbers for each student in your packet when you show up. You will also get safety pins to attach them to your student athletes. We do typically like a safety pin in each corner, but if you want and have a bunch of athletes and need to expedite putting them on, you can do one in each caddy corner. So you can do top left and bottom right. You know what I'm saying? So you will get it in your packet. You will also have on all of your reports, all of your students will also have their bib number on there. So on your roster report, it'll have their bib number. On your time sequence report that we give you of your athletes and what order they run their events in, it'll have their bib number on there. When it comes to track and field, we have a ton of kids out there. It's a lot easier to identify that we're looking for a bib number at staging, or we're place picking and knowing who finished in what place based off of number instead of student athlete names. You'll also get a label that will go on the bottom of your bib that has a matching bib number, and we're going to put those in your packets, and you just stick them on the bottom of your bibs in the morning when you get there. The really nice thing about the bib labels is that essentially it will tell you what events your student athletes are in that you registered them for. It'll say the division that they're in, and it's going to give you a staging time that's roughly the staging time. Okay, sometimes we get ahead on staging, sometimes we get a little behind, but when you see that your student athlete is running the 100-meter and it says staging at 10:45, try to get there 5 minutes before that staging time. And the great thing is it's going to say it on all of your student bibs. And again, you're going to get a sheet for your students and your team that essentially goes from 11 a.m. in the morning when the first race happens, or 10:45 when we start staging the first race. And it's going to go all the way through the end of the day in time sequence of saying, this is their student athlete, this is the division that they're in, and this is the time that they report, starting at 11 a.m. for your first kids and races, and it'll go all the way through the day. So again, make sure you're looking at your bibs When you get your packet, make sure you're getting your bib labels on the right bibs, 800 on 800, 801 on 801, and so on and so forth. And then make sure you're getting them on your student athletes. When you're getting them on your student athletes, look at this picture here, and that's how we want it on your student athletes. We want it on their torso, the stomach area typically. If your school shirt makes it a little bit more sense to have it up towards the chest, that's fine as well. The biggest thing is that we need the bibs on the front. So as they're coming down the track, our people on the finish line can see bib numbers. Again, just so you know, based off of track and field standards, especially for our officials that come from the Potomac Valley division that for track and field, how they do it is usually we have timers and a multi-timer, and we'll catch the times, and they do place picking where they have somebody specifically looking at the lanes, noting that okay, they finished in this order: lane 3, 6, 2, 1, 5, 8, 7. So there's a little bit of a combo to how the finish line happens. So having those bib numbers is a tremendous help on the front, so they can say, hey, bib number 809, they were the ones that came in first place. Then they go from there. Questions on the bibs? Fantastic. If me and my team have enough time, we will actually stick the bib labels on the bibs for you guys. It's all time dependent. And if you have questions about putting the bib labels on or getting the bib set up in the morning, just come see us at the control center. We'll help you out. All right, so let's talk about credentials and access to the different parts of the venues. Essentially, the main thing is all of your coaches or your paraprofessionals or whoever you have on your roster that we asked you for an updated list of a couple days ago, they will all get a credential. It's a hanging credential. It'll be blue or purple or yellow or something. It'll be something that sticks out. All of those folks are folks that we will bless to go to track staging. If an athlete needs help at track staging on a case-by-case basis, we'll let you in to help one of your athletes. Again, it'll let you traverse the venue and access parts of the venue for competition that we don't want spectators or standard folks going into, because we don't want to overcrowd any of our staging areas or our competition areas, because it just slows us down throughout the day. Again, if you have student athletes or spectators or somebody that's not competing at that moment, please tell them to stay in the stands. The more folks that stay in the stands and aren't crowding around where the check-in for all of our event check-ins are, the quicker the day goes. If we're trying to call through the masses and look through piles and piles of people to get the people we need staged, it's going to slow the day down. Additionally, the biggest thing I need you to take away from this slide is you see this little pass in the bottom corner. We are going to print out and have one of these in every packet. If you're a combined team, we'll probably have 2 of these in a packet. If you're a team of, I don't know, 38 people like Urbana, we might have 2 of these in a packet for coaches as well. You have more ground you have to cover. This all access pass, for the most part, we use this to keep the field clear. And so we don't have a ton of people in the field staging tent. We don't have a ton of coaches out there. We get if you have an athlete that needs assistance or if they need a one-on-one or something, but we would like you to share this pass among your coaches and paraprofessionals or whoever needs it when they're going onto the field. If for some reason you have an athlete or 2 athletes that need to be in the field and they need multiple people on there, just let us know. Just ask. We're never going to shut you down when athletes need assistance. We want you to make sure your athletes are supported and taken care of. But at the same time, the more people we can keep out of field staging, the more people we can keep out of track staging, the smoother the process and the day goes. Before we go to staging, last thing I will say about credentialing is I tend to get questions at the end, last minute of, I have an athletic director that's coming out. Do they need a credential? If your athletic director is just coming out to see your students, watch a little bit from the stands, and they don't need to work directly one-on-one with any of your students, they don't need a credential. If you have a paraprofessional that doesn't need to go on the field, they're just there to support a student when they're sitting in the stands or whatever, they don't need a credential. The people that need a credential are the people that need to traverse the venue with your student athletes to help get them to staging, to help get them to pick up lunch, take them to the restroom, whatever it may be. People working directly with your athletes need a credential. Anyone that's coming just to spectate or watch or say hi does not need a credential. Let's talk staging. We don't announce essentially individuals to report to staging. We will announce that this team division A, B, C, D, whatever it may be, and divisions 101 through 115, please report to staging. That is how the announcements go. We won't call every single athlete to staging, but we will announce the team division and the individual heats that we want to report to staging. Again, you have on all of your paperwork that we will give you, you will have on your student athletes' bibs a staging time that is a rough estimate of where we will be in the day when we need them to stage. If it says 11:15 is when they should be staging, please be down there 5 minutes before then. With that said, if it says 11:15 and it's 10:45 and we start staging, please do not go down there and cluster up the staging area. Please keep that clear. Again, the more clear the staging areas are, the more efficient we can be throughout the day. If a student athlete misses his or her heat, we will not go back and rerun heats. We do not have the time of the day to do that. And if we have to slow down the day to do that, that just makes the day longer and harder for all the other student athletes. So please pay attention to staging. We'll call a team division, and then we will call the heats within that team division that we want. And then keep an eye on your paperwork, game plan your day out, and work to bring somebody down to track staging 5 minutes beforehand. Just a reminder about missing heats. There is a situation very, very rarely that a student athlete is expected to be on the field, and then we actually get ahead enough on the track that they're calling for their division for staging. If for some reason you get into a situation where you have a kid that is supposed to be on the field doing something and then gets called to go to the track, the priority is always go to the track. We can bring student athletes back out into the field and run a field event even if their team division isn't out there. We can get scores for them. When we schedule somebody to be on the track, we schedule them once, they get one shot to run on the track, and then we move on with the rest of the day. So again, if there's a conflict there, make sure they get to their track event. In that situation, as a coach, use your credential, and even if you don't have that all access pass, use your colored credential, go out into the field, and tell Meredith Tarkington, who is our sports chair, will be out in the field. Say, hey, Meredith, I have this athlete that's in softball staging, but they just called for their division on the track. I need to take them to the track. Meredith will say, great, we'll make a note about it. And then after they're done on the track, bring them back out into the field. We did get a question. If the coaches were listed on the original roster, do you still need us to submit their names to you for credentials? Coach Carey, if you could send me an email really quick with the names on there, I can always go back. I will go back and double check those before we're done. So typically the answer is no. But if you can send me an email, if anybody has coaches and they're just unsure if I got them, it's quicker to send me an email before you go to bed tonight, and I'll get them for sure then. Again, we're working with, 40, 50 track teams here. So I don't want anybody to get lost in the wave of all the names and stuff. But good question. If they were on your original roster, we will always check your original roster first, make sure that those folks are submitted and on there. And then 2, if you send me an email before 9 p.m. tonight, I will also double down and check that email. It doesn't hurt to double down on your end and send me that email. Again, use all your paperwork in your packet. We print that stuff out. We print out the time sequence report. We don't print it just because we have fun printing stuff. I know we always like to give you a lot of paperwork in your packet, but we don't print it just for the heck of printing it. Look at that paperwork, schedule and plan your day out using that paperwork. Again, we will get that all to you, the basic paperwork of what divisions you're in, the schedule for the day on Saturday. And then likely Monday, you will get the advanced paperwork of the time sequence reports and that stuff digitally as well. Again, the report time on your bibs and on your sheets that we give you is the report time. It is not necessarily the run time. So if you have this typically comes up with parents that come and spectate, right? They see on their kid's bib that it says 10:45 for their 100-meter race. It's 10:45. They get down there. They're waiting. They're waiting. They're waiting. Where's my kid? Why has my kid not run, coach? You just got to tell the parent at that point. That's the staging time. That's the time that they want them at staging. They're going to get them at staging. They'll run them in heat order after that. Be patient. So again, it's the report time, not the run time. So also, God forbid you're scrambling. We know a lot of you have 20, 25 kids on a track and field team here. If you're scrambling a little bit and you realize Susie is supposed to be at track staging now, and it says it on her bib, get her down there ASAP, but don't panic that she's going to miss her race because it's 11 o'clock and it says it's 11 o'clock on her bib. That's the report time for staging, not the run time. Sometimes we are blessed enough to get ahead on the track schedule, and we will stay ahead of schedule as best we can. If we get ahead on the track schedule, we will continue to make announcements of, for this team division, we are now staging divisions blank through blank of the 100-meter, of the 200-meter. We will always make announcements, so please listen up. With that said, if we have a heat where we do not have all of the participants for it, and it is not the time that was published on a report for your staging time, if we're ahead of the staging time, we will not run divisions that do not have somebody reported already if we're ahead of schedule. If we're on schedule and we've called for your team's division, we've called for the divisions that we're running, and we've called once or twice, if somebody isn't there at that point, then we will run the race. So again, if we're ahead of time, we will never hurt you or your athletes because we're ahead. But if we're on time, make sure you're on time. Before we hit false start rulings and stuff like that, does anybody have any questions on the staging aspect? Okay, I'm not seeing anything in chat. We will keep rolling. False starts. Essentially what this blurb says here is that when we run a race, we will give your athletes one false start, and then we will reset the line. If there's another false start, the race continues for that race, and that athlete is DQ'd from that race. If they happen to jump the gun the first time, we give them a second chance. So just be prepared for that. Additionally, we do use a gun for every one of our races. I think all of our districts were doing that as well, which is great. There is a hand signal that goes along with it. So we will have both a sound and visual cue for athletes to start. If you have a question about what that looks like, or you're unfamiliar with that for some reason, ask us in the morning and we can give you a rundown of what that looks like. Competition accommodations. This is the last thing we will take an email for as we're taking in information. Between now and Saturday evening, if you have a student athlete that you need an accommodation for when it comes to competition, please send us an email. A great example that I had is that I got an email about an athlete that cannot run, or honestly, the coach doesn't feel comfortable because of behavioral stuff with them on the track alone without a coach. So essentially, they have a coach at the start and the finish line, and a coach gets them to start the race, essentially gets them to the line and walks away. They start the race, and when they finish, a coach collects them at the end. That's a perfect accommodation request that we will fulfill. We have a couple athletes that need a guide runner or an assistant runner because they can't focus between the start and finish of the 100-meter, or they're visually impaired. That's a great accommodation. If you have an athlete that you need to go out to field staging with and cannot leave them alone out there, that's another good accommodation. If you have a question on a situation where you think an athlete may need additional assistance or something to support them at the state tournament and both days next week, please send me an email between now and Saturday night, and I can respond to you and say, yes, this is an accommodation. We'll write it into all of their heat sheets. Or no, this is an accommodation, but what we can do is X, Y, or Z. We want to make sure your student athletes are supported and get the support and assistance that they need to have a great state invitational. Again, if we do not have that stuff after Saturday night, though, and you come to me on Wednesday or Thursday morning saying, oh, I have a kid that needs X, Y, or Z, I can't guarantee that we can accommodate that. We need to get that into our heat sheets so our officials know that, oh, this heat coming up, we're going to have a coach standing next to them on the track to get them to make sure they're in the right place, and they're going to have a coach that collects them at the end of the track. We need to give our officials a heads up about that, or they'll be confused, or they'll say that's not allowed, and they won't know that we've talked about it. So please, if you have any accommodations or assistance that for your athletes that you think they may need, send me an email with that request so we can talk about it and get it into our notes for our officials. Questions on accommodations before we pass that point? Okay. So if you've been to states before, the busing situation is the same. We typically have a plan A and plan B. And I'm going to be 1,000% honest. Plan A and plan B totally hinges on whether our friends at FedEx Field let us use their parking lot or not. From what I've heard, we should be able to use the FedEx Field parking lot. So typically, what the entry to the facility looks like for you guys on the bus is you would turn off Sheriff Road. You'll follow up the main driveway. You'll be greeted by Prince George's Sports and Learning Complex staff, and they'll send you between these blue and pink parking lots. You'll stop at the ticketing office. You'll have an SOMD management team member who will greet you, say hello, good morning, come on off the bus, give the coach some directions, and then they'll tell the bus driver, hey, you're going to go up, you're going to make a right, and you're either going to the red lot that we have boxed down below, or you're going to follow around the back of the facility and park in the parking lot that's marked orange here. They'll take care of your bus driver. They'll get them all set. Main thing is you guys get off at the ticketing office. Bus drivers will find a parking spot from there. If for some reason you have somebody that is traveling independently in their own vehicle, an AD, an assistant coach, a paraprofessional, a parent that is dropping off a student because they had to do testing in the morning, I don't know, whatever situation might be that somebody comes in an independent vehicle, they will park in either one of these two parking lots that are light blue. There's a little bit of a walk up a hill. It's not that bad though. But that is the plan for when it comes to individual parking and busing. Also, before we go to check-in procedures, as you get off the bus, when you get off the bus, I highly recommend you get your bus driver's phone number, because then as your team finishes their relays and we're going to start awarding your teams, at that point, you can go and you can essentially call your bus driver, tell them you're going to be ready in 20, 25 minutes, and they'll be ready to pick you up. You don't have to wait till the last minute. So please do get your bus driver's number to contact them at the end of the day. Check-in procedures. When you come off the bus, a management team member will greet you, say hi, how's it going? And then they'll direct you to our control center tent. You'll be able to see it from where you get off the bus. You walk around the front side of the track, you go to the control center. When you get there, head coaches should check in at the control center. The rest of your team should go find a spot in the stands. Again, we don't want everybody showing up to the control center, just the head coach. Head coach then will tell us if there's any scratches. Hey, so-and-so was sick today. They didn't make it. Please scratch them from their track and field events. Let us know if there's any relays updates. Let us know that, hey, I emailed Zach about this accommodation on Saturday. I just wanted to check that we were good. Great, it's on the list. We appreciate that. And then we'll hand you your packet. It'll have your bib numbers. It'll have your credentials. It'll have your information for the rest of the day, and we'll send you on your way to meet with your team. One more thing about when you arrive. I forgot to put a slide about this. Please do, if you want to bring a pop-up tent to put with you in the stands, please do bring a pop-up tent. Two things about pop-up tents that I want to remind you about. First thing about pop-up tents is that they need to be above the first 5 rows in the bleachers, because if there's people that want to purely spectate, we want to make sure that they can sit in the first 5 rows and see things. The second thing is if you bring a pop-up tent, you have to bring something to anchor it down. It can either be tent weights, you could bring string to tie it down to the bleachers or whatever it is. It has to be weighted down because if we get any wind, we don't want it to go flying and fly off the stands and hit anybody, or God forbid, get even on all the way onto the track. So again, feel free to bring pop-up tents. Make sure you bring something to weigh them down, and they're above the 5th row. Awards. We're going to cover awards here. If you've been here before for states for track and field, same process as usual, with a minor tweak to this process that we think is going to make it a better process and better experience for you and your student athletes. All of your teams get awards, and again, remember they're team awards, not individual awards. Awards get presented once the team has finished all of your events, which includes the relays. Depending on the relay results, it may impact what the final results are. So if your team is in the first heat of 4x1s and you finish your 4x1 and you're just waiting, then we still have to wait for the rest of the 4x1s to get done and the 4x2s to get done, because that could impact the overall standings for that team division. So again, be patient. If you only have a 4x1, we do need to get through all of your 4x1s and the 4x2s for that team division. With awards, the main thing is always listen up for announcements. We'll continuously be making awards. The better you listen, the better we get you awarded, and the quicker we get you out, because I know people want to beat traffic. When you come to the award ceremony, make sure your student athletes are wearing their uniforms. No sweatshirts, no sweatpants over uniforms, no crazy hats or anything, no headphones. We want them in their uniforms to take a good picture for you to remember your experience at the event. Additionally, we have made one essentially tweak to what our awards process is if you've been here in the past. Typically in the past, when it comes to awards time, the red section is where the stage is. It's great. We have a setup. It looks awesome. The pictures are perfect. The problem that we run into is everybody congregates on this blacktop area here, and it gets really tough to stage your student athletes. This year, when you finish your relay, your 4x1, your 4x2, if you're done with your relays and you know your team is ready for awards next, please come down to this last section of the bleachers. We are going to section and close off this section of the bleachers so that we can stage student athletes and teams in there and then slowly call them down for awards so we're not clustering up the blacktop area. Additionally, if you are in this area for awards, please leave the first couple rows open for any teams that may have a student athlete in a wheelchair. We want to make sure that they can be with their team and their team doesn't have to sit up top and their athlete in a wheelchair is stuck down at the bottom. So if you are reporting for awards and you do not have an athlete in a wheelchair, please sit more towards the top. Tyler Harrell, who is our IUS manager, will be working in this section. He'll help get you seated. He'll help communicate with the awards team who needs to come down. When it is your turn for awards, what we will do is we will call 2 or 3 teams down, and they will proceed out of the stands here. And in this yellow rectangle, whatever this shape is, we will stage the next 2 or 3 teams that we're going to award. We'll stage them. We'll call your team. You'll proceed up onto the award stage. We'll get you your awards. We'll get pictures, and then we'll send you guys on your way. We do have a question from a coach. We have a student in a wheelchair and would like him to be under the canopy for sun protection. In this case, is it permissible to have a canopy at the bottom of the bleachers? Coach Wendy, that's actually a really good accommodation suggestion. If you can email me, we will make sure you have a place at the bottom of the stand so that your athlete in a wheelchair can get sun protection under your canopy. Great question. Please email me, Coach Wendy, so we can get that taken care of for you. But that's the awards process. Finish your relays, come to staging. Tyler will get you seated. Tyler will communicate with the awards team. When you are one of the 2 or 3 teams they're going to send down, they will send you down here to our awards team. They will get you lined up. They will call your team. You'll come up onto the stage. Awards will be given. Pictures will be taken. And then we ask you guys to get off the stage so that we can do the next award ceremony. We will have other spots with flags and banners up that if you want to take more team pictures, that you can. Tyler, anything you want to add to the award ceremony that I might have missed?
Got it all.
Fantastic. Thank you. Coaches, any questions on your end about the award ceremony at the end of the day? Okay. Here's a big thing. That is my cell phone number. Weird New Jersey cell phone number. So please do me a favor and take that down now. Again, we'll send out the slides tomorrow so you can see it there if you don't get it here. Take down my cell phone number. If for some reason in the morning you are running late or you are behind schedule or something comes up, please call me. Again, I do not have all of your cell phone numbers saved in my phone. So when you do call me, I'll pick up and I'll say, "Hi, this is Zach. Please say, hey, this is Coach Blank from Blank School. This is our situation." Again, our schedule, we want you guys to arrive between 9 and 10 o'clock, somewhere in there. We recognize that this facility is right off of 495 on a weekday. I know what 495 looks like on a weekday, and I totally get it. I also know that some schools are traveling from all the way in Allegheny County, Washington County. You guys are probably coming down and taking 270 on a weekday. I also know what 270 looks like on a weekday. It's not good all the time. If you're running behind, or if there's something that's come up for your team, please call me. If you want to shoot me a text, you can. I may not see that as fast because it doesn't ring as long. Please call me, reach out, let me know that there's an issue. We will do our best to support you guys and accommodate you guys. Competition scheduled to start at 11. So again, don't fret if for some reason you're going to arrive between 10:30 or 10:15 and 10:30, 10:30 and 10:45. Don't get stressed. You may not be there for opening ceremonies. We want as many people there for opening ceremonies as we can, but don't stress out. Call me. Let me know what's going on. We'll get you guys taken care of. Again, reminder, get your bus driver's number. It gets you out of the facility way quicker. It gets your bus pulled down from that top lot if they're ready to come down. It gets you on the road quicker. I know folks want to get home. We will do our best to keep the day rolling and keep it on track and keep it on schedule. But again, you helping yourself by getting your bus driver's number will expedite your departure. Also, you are free to pack coolers for the stands. Of course, we do provide lunch. Great job. A lot of you guys have done an awesome job sending us your lunch orders. But if you want to pack extra water, extra healthy snacks, extra Gatorade, you know that you have some athletes that need Gatorade, otherwise their sugar gets really low. Juice boxes, whatever it may be, pack extra stuff. It is a little bit of a long day. Our lunches are really nice lunches from Wawa that they provide for us. I'm pretty sure they're all pinwheel sandwiches. We'll give you water. There'll be water throughout the facility throughout the day in water bottles, iced and cold. The lunches also, I'm pretty sure they come with the nice Wawa pretzels and stuff too. Like, they're really, really solid lunch. But we get it. You may be hungry or have students that are hungry before lunch. You may have students that eat their lunch and decide, I'm still hungry because I just ran a 400-meter track race and burnt it all off. We get it. Feel free to pack a cooler for the stands. We highly recommend that you do. Additionally, we will have merchandise again for sale, our Unified Generation merchandise. And we tend to sometimes have some discounted merchandise that's older stuff from other stuff as well. Thank you for answering the question. Unfortunately, Prince George's Sports and Learning Complex has never really post-COVID gotten their food concession stand back up and running. They really tried to, they just haven't really found a vendor that takes care of that. So unfortunately, no, we don't have a concession stand on site. And I will say it might be good to communicate to even your parents that they may want to pack something, because it's in a spot off of Sheriff Road there that there's not a lot of restaurants or fast food or anything like that. So again, potentially a good thing to work out with your school cafeteria staff, that maybe they pre-pack you guys a bunch of PBJs or something like that. Work with your school staff to make sure your students are taken care of. Question about place to refill water bottles. On the building, let me go back a bunch of slides. Actually, I can go back to this one. This building to the right here is where you will find the restrooms. In that building, I believe there's one of those things that you stick your water bottle into and it dispenses from above to refill water bottles. We try to do our best, Captain America or Captain Planet pledge to reduce, reuse, recycle. We will have a plethora of water bottles on hand. So if for some reason you can't refill a water, we will have a replacement water. With that said, we will give you garbage bags and have recycling sections set up. Please do your best to throw things out appropriately. Please do your best to make sure your students are keeping everything clean. And please make sure if we do have recycling things to recycle as much as you can. We tend to go through a good chunk of water bottles, but we want to be responsible how we dispose of those water bottles for sure. But I do believe there is a refill station in this building here where the restrooms are. Other questions about things that you can bring or not bring? Okay. Here's the sticky point for next week. We literally just did this song and dance for bocce. It worked out great, but we definitely had to do a little bit of a weather dance here. The weather next week is a little yucky for track and field. And there's an element to track and field where if the track is too wet, it's not safe to run on, right? So right now, my biggest concern personally with the weather is Wednesday the 15th. 0.61 is a good amount of rain for one day. It's not a tsunami, it's not a hurricane or anything, but it's enough rain to make the track unsafe. With that said, this is a week out weather report, and we all know how quick the weather can change in a week. We're going to continue to monitor this. Thursday, while it looks like 0.12, which is just kind of a little mist of rain throughout the day, there's a little threat for thunderstorms, which makes that unsafe as well. And then even Friday, our rain day, is scheduled for almost 0.4 of rain. With this said, we're not panicking. We just made it through bocce and had a really great bocce state tournament with some odd weather situations as well. We're just going to keep an eye on the weather throughout the week. If we need to make decisions on weather, this is the process that we use. Monday, the unified sports team will get together. We will look at the weather. We will start crystal balling a little bit for what our game plan may be, what decisions we may have to make during the week. If for some reason we need to make a weather decision on Wednesday the 15th, we will make that decision before 12 p.m. noon on Tuesday the 14th. We always want to make the decision the day before and before school lets out so you can tell students that are going home, so that you can tell assistant coaches that are going home, so that you can tell your admin and your athletic directors and the transportation people before they go home so people can pivot as they need to. Additionally, if we need to make a call on for Thursday the 16th, we will make that on Wednesday before noon as well. So we will always make the call on weather the day before noon. That is a great point. Coach Amanda says we don't have school Tuesday. That is a great point. Is the main reason why we've had to slide our track meet around for 3 months and get to these final dates. We will respond to you guys as soon as we can on Tuesday, regardless of not being in school. You guys may just then have to communicate to your student athletes as best you can. If anybody has major concerns about how we communicate, and if you think that we need to make the call for Wednesday's track meet on Monday because you will be in school, please send me a text or an email after that. We'd love to hear your feedback on stuff like that. And again, you guys know your students in school better than us. If you think we need to make that call Monday so we can get that information out there, send me a text, send me an email. We'll consider that in our game plan. Essentially, that's the weather game plan as of now. Any questions on the weather game plan and how we do our decision making? Coach Joseph, no, I saw that you have emailed me. Again, we had our state bocce tournament yesterday, so I've been focused on that, even though I sent that email Monday or Tuesday. Tomorrow, I will be working on all the roster updates, all the assignment updates for events. I'll be working on all of your corrections that all the coaches sent me. If I have a question on your roster at that point, I'll reach out and email you, and we'll get it worked out. If we still need to tweak things after I email you, we'll get that all fixed up. Good question. Thank you for asking early, Coach Joseph. If there's no questions on decision making for weather, I want to go back a couple map slides and let you guys know one more thing about weather. If we are on site for weather and there's a weather situation where the rain really picks up, or if we get a thunder or lightning strike, we do have to move everybody from the field facility into the indoor field facility across the street. Knowing that if we have to do that, we are always going to try to make that call in advance so it's not a run for cover, but so we can make a peaceful walk across the street and not have to panic. We know that some athletes have ambulatory issues. I'm not the fastest walker myself, and if it's raining, I'm definitely not running because I will probably slip. But if we need to make a call on site where severe weather rolls in, we cross from where you guys got dropped off and we walk into the field house here. Again, the standard policy for Special Olympics Maryland, for Prince George's County Parks and Rec, for most athletic facilities in the state of Maryland is if there's a lightning strike, we have to wait 30 minutes after the last lightning strike to resume. We can get into all the technicalities of if we have to wait for lightning strikes and we get delayed, when do we start again? Do we do all of our events? If we cross that bridge on site, we have a plan. We will huddle the coaches up. We will communicate that to you. Just know, if the rain really, really picks up, if we get a lightning strike or thunder, we will cross into the indoor facility. Any questions on weather procedures before we go to our next slide?
So should Friday not work out either, is there a backup plan?
It's funny because I called our VP of sports prior to this meeting. I said, you know what? Crazy situation that in over 10 years of Special Olympics, I don't know if I've ever run into. What's our policy on if Wednesday gets rained out, Thursday happens or kind of happens, you know, the Wednesday crew goes on Friday, and even then we have to cancel Friday. The bad news is with all the scheduling and the dates and all the school scheduling and graduations and all that stuff, if we can't mobilize into our rain date, we don't have other dates. The reasons for that is, one, there's a million other school dates and things that you guys have going on. Two, MPSSAA starts setting up and running and planning for their state track meet on Friday the 17th, hence why we got to go to Northwestern if we need to use that rain date. And they have Prince George's Sports and Learning Complex for the remainder of the week after. Then we start getting to the point where we're really late in May and they're closing down their track for the rest of the track and field season for regional track and field stuff. So the unfortunate answer is, if for some reason we need to push Wednesday or Thursday into Friday, and then Friday gets canceled, we don't have a backup date, there aren't any options on the table. Unfortunately, that's it for the track and field season. That's why we are going to run our decision-making process for weather as long as we can, but on an appropriate timeline that we get you guys the information early. Does that answer your question?
Yes, it does.
It's not a fun answer. I absolutely recognize that, but that is the realistic answer. If you don't like that answer, you guys can go fight Andy Werner at MPSSAA. I'll give you his phone number. I'm just kidding. I will not do that to poor Andy. All right. I'm going to go around the horn because we have a lot of coaches on here to see if there's any questions on anything we didn't cover. Any additional questions you may have, or anything that you want to go back and ask a question about now, because we're getting to the end of our slide presentation here with this slide. I'm going to start with Allegheny County. Any questions? Sounds like no. I'm going to go to our friends in Charles County. Any questions?
So the start time is 11.
The competition start time is 11. We will have our coaches meeting at 10:15 based on our
Okay.
schedule, and opening ceremonies is at 10:30. Again, we
Okay.
highly recommend everybody rolls in between 9 and 10 o'clock. Additionally, if you roll in between 9 and 10 o'clock, that gives you time to get out there with your team on the track, on the field, stretch, warm up, get ready for the day as well. But good question. So that is a good question. Really, really good question from Coach Murphy. If inside is an option if it rains for shelter, is there a chance that we can just do the meet inside? Unfortunately, the indoor meet aspect is based on how the facility is built is totally different. And I'll be 100% honest, our SOMD team isn't set up to be prepared for the pivot and change of facility, even though it's just across the street. It's only a 400 meter, or not a 400-meter track. It's a 200-meter track. So then our races are more laps. If it'd be hard enough for us to get set up, I don't know if we can communicate to all of our athletes that are doing 200 that it's a full lap, 400 that it's 2 laps, 800 is 4 laps. Additionally, we don't have the setup for doing indoor shot put. They don't have necessarily the room to do the mini jab or softball throw in there. And their long jump hit is way different inside than it is outside. And we don't want to set your student athletes up for a bad experience inside. So while it would make logical sense that they have an indoor track, that we should be able to pivot in that aspect, it's not something that actually works for us. And we have concerns about it working for your student athletes and them having to adapt on the fly as well. Good question, Coach Murphy. But the answer is if we have to go inside, we cannot use the indoor facility. It is for shelter purposes only. Charles County. Or any more questions from Charles County? And then I have another text question I'll read. Sounds like no. Question came in the chat. What is the latest time the athletes can warm up on the track before opening ceremony? We will officially close the track at 10:15 when we have the coaches meeting, because we will have your attention at the coaches meeting. We want your athletes getting into the stands at 10:15 so that you're not worried about where they are. You could focus on the coaches meeting. Good question, Coach Wendy. Any questions from the Frederick crew? Anybody have any questions from Frederick County? Sounds like no. Garrett County. Any questions from the Garrett County crew? Sounds like a no. Prince George's County. Any questions from our Prince George's County friends?
No.
All right. I got my first notes. I got one official feedback. So question from Coach Wilson. So Friday is the rain day for both Wednesday and Thursday, correct? Yes, we only have one rain date, unfortunately. Again, with the shift out of Tuesday. Typically, when we go Tuesday, Wednesday, we have rain dates of Thursday and Friday. But because we had the shift out of Tuesday because of the primary elections, we only have Wednesday, Thursday, and then thanks to our friends at Northwestern High School in Prince George's County, we do have a Friday location. We almost got into a pinch because of the primary election of not having a Friday location. Good question. Friday is the only rain date for both days. That leads to a scenario where if both days get rained out, we also have a question of determining who goes on Friday. Our policy up to this point has been if there are rain delays / cancels / postponements, the day that got postponed first gets first crack at the rain date. So should Wednesday get rained out and should Thursday get rained out, we will try to run Wednesday first. Additionally, if we end up in that situation where there's a threat of both days getting rained out, I will also contact district reps to see if there's anything that we can do to determine some schools want to go and some schools don't at that point, if we make a combination. I don't have any full promises on that, but our policy typically is we have to cancel both days and Friday is available. Wednesday gets first shot at Friday. Washington County. Any coaches from Washington County have any questions?
I don't have any.
Perfect. Thank you, Coach. I think that's a no on Washington County. All right. With that said,
Yeah.
quick, Tyler, do you have anything you want to add? Because this is our last slide here.
Nope, I'm all good.
Cool. Thank you. Meredith, is there anything that you want to add as sports chair for our last slide here?
Nope, I think you covered it.
Cool. Again, reminders, if there's any sort of update that you want to email me that you need to update your roster before the end of tonight, if you have any accommodations that you need for your student athletes before the end of Saturday, please get those emails in sooner rather than later. I'm going to be honest, even if you just have a question about a roster or an accommodation, it's probably better to send the email than to not send the email. So again, send those emails. Rosters need to be in by 9 p.m. tonight. Accommodations need to be in by Saturday. If for some reason you have not turned in a lunch form to Meredith, please do so ASAP. Our policy on lunch is that we will feed everybody, but we prioritize people that turned in lunch forms to get their lunches first, to get them out of our lunch distribution set area. And then we will feed everybody afterwards. We have plenty of food. Everybody will get fed. But if you turn in a lunch form, you get priority to get fed over the folks that don't turn in a lunch form. I will ask overall one last round of questions. Any questions? Beautiful. I apologize we went over our timeline a little bit, but there's a lot of things that we got to cover for track and field. And you guys had some great questions. To close it out, all I'm going to say is thank you guys for everything you've done this season. You did an awesome job with track and field. You did an awesome job with school in general. We are so proud of you and all of your teams for everything you've accomplished this season. And we're super excited to see you guys next week. Track and field is one of my favorite events because it's kind of chaotic, but it's super fun chaotic. And that's why I love it. So thank you guys. Enjoy the rest of your night. If you have questions, please reach out and let us know if you have anything. We're more than happy to answer that for you. And I'm going to end our recording here.